Live from Studio B, here's your moderator, WATD's Christine James.
Good evening and welcome to a WATD Political Forum. I'm your moderator, Christine James, and I'm joined by reporter Tom Gorman and Art Eckerton of Pembroke Town News asking questions tonight. The race is for Pembroke Select Board. We've got Incumbent Steve Ciciotti and Challenger Sean Keegan, both in studio. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Timing you all is our own Charlie Fulmer. Hello there, Charlie. And, of course, joined by media partner Pembroke Town News. What I like to say when we time people, so we remind the folks that are listening at home and will be viewing this also on video, we're very strict about timing. With the cards, green is go, yellow is you've got 10 seconds, red is stop. If you're still talking, you get the 5-second grace countdown. If you're still talking, it's the bell. If you're still talking after the bell, Larry, our engineer in there, will cut your mic. So we really try to stick to a tight format. Now, the format is very simple. We use the same format each time. We ask our candidates to have prepared opening and closing statements, no longer than 2 minutes for the opening and a 1-minute close. Then we do a round of questions from our reporters. The answers are limited to a minute unless I say I'm going to give you a follow-up or ask another 30-second to add to it. And we're tough about that. Then our favorite part, the lightning round, that means the answers are either yes or no, which no one running for office can do, or 2 sentences tops, which also I think no one running for office can do, but we're going to try that tonight when the reporter will tell you what kind of an answer that they want. Also, please try and keep your answers to around a minute. If you consistently go over, ramble, or start to repeat yourself, then you get the bell. We chose the opening and closing order of the official WATD stand-in newsroom koozie here, and we're going to begin with Sean, then we're going to go to Steve. And a reminder to folks, the Pembroke Town election is Saturday, May 17th. So good evening. It's the Pembroke Select Board Forum. Let's begin with our opening statement. Let's start with Sean Keegan.
Good evening. My name's Sean Keegan, and I'm running for the Pembroke Select Board. We have a problem. It's not unique to Pembroke, but over the years, it's gotten worse here. We've stopped listening to each other. We've forgotten that we are neighbors and that we all want the same thing, a bright future for our town. Too often, the loudest voice in the room comes from the fringes, pulling us apart instead of bringing us together. But that's not who Pembroke is. Most of us are independents who care deeply about our community, families, our future. I'm running to bring some balance back to the Select Board, to help refocus us on what matters. We need leadership that listens, that brings more voices to the table, and that works for the best path forward for our entire town, not just a few and not for personal agendas. Pembroke deserves thoughtful, respectful leadership. We deserve leadership that reflects the strength, independence, and spirit of the people who live here. That's the kind of leadership I promise to bring to the Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the opening comment, and that was from Sean Keegan. Now, opening statement from, Steve Ciciotti.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Ciciotti, and I'm running for re-election to my second term as your selectman. A bit of backstory. My wife and I purchased our Pembroke home in 2019, attracted to the open spaces, greenery, great water bodies, and diverse wildlife. We loved the low-density suburb feel, low crime, and great public schools for our 3 children. As a family of total book nerds, we also quickly fell in love with our Pembroke Public Library, of which my wife, Stephanie, serves as chair on its library board of trustees. And as our roots quickly deepened, I discovered something else very special and unexpected, a strong and welcoming community with so much life and history to go with it. I do not take what we all love about Pembroke for granted. Back in 2021, I started to get involved amidst some very controversial times and policies, and after a massive outpouring of encouragement, I decided to step up and be part of the solution. In 2022, I proposed my candidacy for selectman on a bold platform challenging these policies, and was elected with a 61% supermajority, ensuring some of my main objectives were fulfilled within only a month of serving. Since then, and throughout my first term as your selectman, I've gained an immense knowledge of the systems at play, as well as both the strengths and opportunities we face as a town. With my years of experience working in management for businesses both large and small, publicly traded and privately owned, and in various industries, from information technology as a certified IT technician, to finance and accounting and construction, to supply chain, production control, and data analytics in medtech and defense and space manufacturing, I continue to bring an ever-growing set of skills, experiences, and perspectives to the table that few others can. I also don't shy away from politically difficult decisions and consider myself a change agent on behalf of the town. I want to protect, if not enhance, what and I think we all love about Pembroke and what makes it great. So know that I will continue to be bold and disrupt where necessary, bring diligence and vision to fill the gaps identified, and always be open to discuss or debate with anyone who reaches out in good faith. There is much more to come between now and town election, and I would humbly request your vote to continue serving Pembroke in the best way I know how.
Thank you very much. That was the opening statement with Steve Ciciotti. Now we're going to go to questions from reporters. Let's begin with our own Tom Gorman. Questions for the candidates. Tom.
What do you feel are the biggest issues facing Pembroke?
Let's start with Sean. 1 minute.
Okay. We have a lot of issues with things like water problems with our brown water. Which is being addressed in the master plan. We have a plan to move forward to address that issue. We have a lot of issue with our roads. The roads are in rough shape, and we have a pavement plan that is being implemented. Both of these issues may seem like they're not getting done quick enough, but they are being worked on, and it's a big town. We have a lot to do. I mean, as far as the water, there's 135 miles of water mains, and a lot of that has to be replaced, and it takes time. But if a resident is having an issue with water, they need to let the town know, let the water department know. Maybe they can come flush their pipes and help out. There's lots of things they can do. Same with the potholes in town. Let them know. They're out there fixing them, and they can come around if they know that you're having a problem on your roads.
Okay, same question, Steve Ciciotti.
So, yeah, water infrastructure is definitely, I would say, the biggest thing on everybody's mind right now. You see a lot of posts and conversations about the discolored water, etc. I mean, the two main causes of discolored water are there's old pipes in town. The old pipes go back about anywhere from 50 to 80 years, or even more for some of them. Also, our oldest, highest capacity well has the highest manganese and iron content, which is what drives that color, and is relied upon more when water demand is highest or it spikes. So that tends to be when you see more of the brown water come out, apart from when we do our hydrant flushing. So we've got very old infrastructure, and a big cause of that is because the focus for decades was on just keeping water rates the lowest in the region. Just keep the water rates low. That was the focus for the longest time, and so the can was kind of kicked down the road. What we did was we're implementing a water master plan, and we are putting funding into our water enterprise funds in order to make sure that's taken care of.
Okay. Question. We've got Art Egerton from Pembroke Town News.
Okay.
I'm going to get right up to the mic.
All right, thank you. The town has benefited tremendously from federal funding, including $3 million to help build the community center by Congressman Keating. As the federal government is eliminating funds for libraries and schools and other programs, how do you address the potential impacts on the town budget?
Let's start with Steve.
Well, this is one thing that's been a big issue of mine for a while. There was a long period of time where I would say when I first came on the select board, I noticed that the prioritization of really limited funds, it really wasn't the best prioritizing of it. We had a crumbling infrastructure. We prioritized maybe our wants over our needs, and so we need to prioritize our needs before our wants, especially our crumbling infrastructure, our water infrastructure, our police and fire station, for example, our roads, and these are things that we've been addressing. But the things that we can control, because we can't control what the federal government does, we can't even control what the state government does. They're not even giving us Chapter 90 or Chapter 70 funding, keeping up with inflation. It's a fraction of that. The priorities are completely disjointed from the towns. So what we can control is make sure that we prioritize things effectively. And that's what we've been doing to make sure that we focus where our needs are before our wants. And when we accomplish our needs, then we can move towards our wants. But we also have to maintain some guardrails around needed development in town as well. Okay. Controlled development.
Same question, Sean.
Well, Steve's right. We need to prioritize, and I think the town does a pretty good job of that. We run a pretty pretty tight budget. We have one of the lowest ones around, not the lowest budget for towns around here, but we're on the lower side. So the Pembroke has done a pretty good job of prioritizing. We have some big projects coming up that are going to need funding, and it's gonna be tight. But we have a very good town manager who works very well with the select board, and I believe that Pembroke is on the right track and that we will keep everything balanced and moving forward.
You're listening to a WATD Political Forum. The race is for Pembroke Select Board. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
WATD's Political Forum continues. Now, back to Studio B. Here's your moderator, Christine James.
That's right. We are back in Studio B. I'm your moderator, Christine James. The race is for Pembroke Select Board. We have the incumbent in here, Steve Ciciotti, his challenger, Sean Keegan. Right before we went to break, asking a few questions. Of course, I always reserve the right to ask questions, and I do. Affordable housing is an issue in every town. How to accomplish it, how to keep people happy, too. Most of the talk in Pembroke seems to revolve around several 40Bs with a lot of local opposition. What's a realistic plan for any affordable housing in Pembroke? Sean?
So we've already got plans moving forward with that. We have some affordable housing going into the center. Also going to have a tavern there, I believe. But that'll help revitalize the center. It'll also help us get up to the required amount by the state of affordable housing. As far as the opposition to it, I just think that we need to have a forum, get the town together. I think there's some misinformation out there. I don't think people understand what's being done and why it's being done. And that's why there's opposition. But if we had a forum, we got the information out there, heard what people had to say, I think that people would understand that Pembroke's moving in the direction they need to make this, make the requirements that the state wants for us.
Okay. Same question, Steve.
So with regards to 40B developments, we're just under the 10% minimum affordable housing requirement. And we're likely to meet and exceed this minimum requirement once the already approved 40Bs go in. If so, we would be the only town in the area to regain control of our town from the state and unfriendly 40B developments. Last I checked, none of our neighbors and even those towns throughout the South Shore region have achieved the minimum 40B requirement, hence why you're seeing so much development popping up in odd places throughout our region. So folks understand affordable housing is not low-income housing. Under 40B, affordable means a household making up to 80% of the area median income. For our area, the area median income is $130,000 a year. So that's still a household income of up to $104,000 per year for these units. And once we regain control of our town and zoning from 40B developments, after achieving the 10% minimum, we can initiate conversations with builders to create actually friendly 40Bs that serve the town in the way that we need and we want. So we need to target up to 40% to escape the hamster wheel of always hovering and falling below 10%.
This is good. I've already gotten to use this twice. I'm going to ask you both a follow-up question. I did this with some of the state rep races, and I found it was very tough to get an answer. We use that term a lot, affordable housing. It's affordable. It's relative to what things are selling for now. Many of these towns, median income, average house about close to $1 million. Do you have a number for me that you think is affordable? What's a house that's affordable?
Oh my goodness, what's affordable? I mean, it really depends on who you talk to, and I mean they have defined affordable based on the median income, 80% of the area median income. So in this area, quote unquote affordable would be if your household income is $100,000 a year.
Give me a price of a house. Is it $400,000?
$400,000.
That's affordable.
But you're not going to find a house in Pembroke for $400,000 very easily. I'm sure the Keegans will tell you that. Yeah.
I'll give them a chance now. Same question, Sean. What do you think's affordable? What's a good number? I want a number.
So, you're talking about an entry level house.
Yeah,
sure.
What's affordable? Because we say affordable, but nobody says what affordable is.
Yeah, I would say like $350,000 would be affordable. But like Steve said, you're not going to find that in Pembroke. And it's crazy how difficult it is. These kids coming up today, they just can't get their foot in the door on home ownership because the prices are just out of control. So I don't have the answer for that. We need to think of something. I mean, my kids, getting a house in Pembroke is not on the horizon for them.
They
right
said they wanted to stay with you forever. You didn't know that?
Yeah, well, we made it very comfortable for them, so I don't know if they will ever leave, but,
But that's, it's such the number that people say affordable, even if we build them, it's so tough because we said these numbers. When's the last time you saw home prices in this area for that kind of a number, Steve?
And this is such a broader discussion to have, too. There's issues with, of course, inflation at the national level, but there's a lot of policies and laws on the books for the state of Massachusetts that are pushing people out because of the lack of affordability. So I think there needs to be some action at the state level that's creating a lot of pressures.
Do you want another 30 seconds? Since he wants a longer discussion, but that's not going to happen tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're not going to solve this problem here. But, I'm not sure that's something that the select board can take care of. But he's right that at the state level, hopefully they can address the issue.
Okay. Let's go to Tom Gorman. Questions for our candidates tonight.
On a related matter, what are your thoughts about accessory dwelling units? The state is now not requiring homeowners to live on the property. Could this result in properties being turned into rentals?
Let's start with you, Sean.
I actually think it's a great thing, and it's good for our aging population. In Pembroke, I think we just went over 5,000 residents that are seniors, which, as of July, I will be one of them. But
we'll all get there.
Yeah. But the ADU can make it so they can stay independent. To keep them from having to go on, into some housing development that they don't want to be in. They can stay in place with an ADU. So I think ADUs, it's very good. I think it, as far as it becoming rentals, that's something that we can address with bylaws and regulations to keep it from getting out of hand. But I think it's a good thing.
Okay, same question, Steve.
So the town of Pembroke had some ADU bylaws on the books to start with, and we were actually moving in the direction to kind of open that up a little bit. That was part of our master plan. And then the state clearly recently came in and said, you know what, we're going to make it allowable everywhere. So we're actually doing a little bit of cleanup in terms of our bylaws, our zoning bylaws going into town meeting to match the state, and it's going the direction that we were going to go anyway. So I do think the ADUs are very good. It empowers private property owners without imposing high-density housing, which I think understandably upsets a lot of people in town because they came to Pembroke to enjoy the low-density suburb feel. That's why I came here. So accessory dwelling units is a way to empower private property owners while adding additional supply of housing units. And just like Sean mentioned, it's going to be really good to allow folks who are older to move into the ADU units, maybe support their families a little bit more while their kids grow up, and then everybody can stay connected. I think that generational support is hugely important.
Did you want to do a follow-up with that? I know just from questions we've gotten about ADUs, people think that somehow people are going to find ways to work around that, and turn some of these neighborhoods into like purely rentals, people coming in, buying properties, and having double rental properties on the property. You're not afraid of that?
I mean, I think we shouldn't go into this with fear to start. I mean, it's something that we have to open up to because we need that supply, we need that development, but we want to maintain guardrails and control over it, and ADUs are a great way to do that because of the empowering nature of it. That if that's something that ends up happening, it becomes a problem, we can adjust our bylaws, and the state allows a framework for us to work within in order to do that. So we can respond if necessary.
What about you, Sean? Are you worried about that, them coming in and somehow getting whole neighborhoods where maybe a couple of investors even come in and buy houses and put ADUs up so they've got like their own little block of rentals? Right. Are you worried about that?
So whenever you have something like this, you're always going to find people that are going to try to work around the rules and try to use it for the purposes that it wasn't intended. But I think with the planning board and the select board and the town manager keeping an eye on it, we can keep ahead of that and make sure that if they find a loophole, that we close it.
Okay. Art Egerton.
Yeah. Can you name an item in the town budget that could be considered wasteful spending, and what could you do to take care of that?
Let's start with you, Sean.
So I'm not the incumbent. I'm not on the board. I've seen the budget. I know the big items, the numbers that are on there, but I couldn't tell you about wasteful spending in it. From what I saw when Bill Chenard presented it at the select board, I don't think there is much waste in it. I think Pembroke does a pretty good job of really keeping the budget clean.
Okay. Same question, Steve?
I would say Sean is right. We do a great job of staying lean and mean. So you can comb through the budget. We went through it of the budget season line by line, and things are tight. And if I see anything, usually you can focus and you can see the trends over time, because we'll have the column data that shows over time the last 5 years, and you can hone in very quickly to see what happened with this spike here, or why do we have this dip. Let's explain that. Let's talk about it. But for the most part, we've been able to control, especially in the face of inflation, a lot of our expenses. And I'm very proud of the fact that in spite of the inflation, with the way the select board and the town manager has managed our priorities, put our needs ahead of our wants, especially, that we're still in the bottom 40% of median tax bills of the surrounding 22 towns. So the town of Pembroke, we have a lot of amenities for the amount of spending that we do, and we're lean and mean. The schools are lean and mean, and the schools are in the top quartile of MCAS scores, while being in the bottom quartile of per pupil spending. So it's very impressive, I think, what we accomplish.
And were you next? I lost. Okay, Tom Gorman, questions for the candidates.
What are your thoughts about the public safety building and the substation?
Let's start with you, Steve.
Yeah, public safety building is something that was, just like the community center, was identified a quarter century ago on the old master plan. And it was something where the can was kicked down the road over and over and over again. People didn't want to spend money, understandably, because you want to save as much as you can. But these were things that were genuinely needed. Community center got done on time and under budget. The public safety building is coming now too, and it's looking like we're going to be within budget in terms of. We actually also we're going through the bid process right now, and we're looking like we're going to be in a very strong position as a town because there's a lot of bidders who are interested. So that's very good in this environment. I'm very excited to get this public safety building done. It's going to accommodate our needs now and growing in the future, and things will actually be up to code too, because the current police and fire station, they're not even remotely up to code. They don't serve our needs, and they've been needed to be replaced they were identified 25 years ago. They were built 50, 60 years ago.
Same question, Sean.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. As he said, the buildings are woefully inadequate right now. I believe the fire station, if they go out and deal with a hazardous situation, they have to walk through the whole building to get to the place where they clean off. I mean, it's just not good. It wasn't expected to last this long. It wasn't set up to last this long. It was built so long ago. This new building is going to be, state of the art. It's going to have the two fire and police together. It's really going to be a good thing for the town. Okay,
Art Egerton, questions for our candidates here tonight.
I believe there's a question on the ballot coming up, or a question at town meeting about vocational education. What are your thoughts about whether we should have it or we shouldn't have it?
Steve?
Vocational. The VOTEC question has been something that I've dug deep on for years now. I've been involved in this issue, and I would say in the beginning I was extremely skeptical about the cost, especially with the kind of cost the town is dealing with as it is. But it's funny. Melissa Hooley's around every corner if you're not careful, but she's really been driving this issue, and understandably so, because kids have not had access to VOTEC education, and one way or the other we need to get it to them. So right now, South Shore VOTEC is really the only option in the region. And my skepticism was from the cost and from the idea of we need to explore all of our options. And the vocational steering committee, of which folks from the select board, school committee, Melissa Hooley and folks were on, really looked at all the options, and they saw that the other options are more expensive or don't accommodate our needs. South Shore VOTEC is the only option. It's going to be a big cost if we do it. It's going to be a big cost if we don't do it, because kids won't have that option, and I would be very comfortable with it going to the voters and the voters deciding what they want to do. That needle has moved for me, for sure.
Okay, same question, Sean.
I'm all for the VOTEC. I have two kids who college wasn't their thing. They're extremely intelligent, but they just don't like the college route. One of them is a welder now. I had my porch built by the Silver Lake VOTEC when Pembroke was still part of it. I think it's a very good thing. It's good for the kids' future. It's good for Pembroke's future. It is expensive. They think they're saying about $450 a year, for 30 years for the average household of $600,000. That's a lot of money, and that's a concern for people. So I would love to see a forum for people to talk about it and hear their concerns, but I'm all for it, and I think I would love to see Pembroke become part of it.
Okay, you're listening to a political forum here. The race is for Pembroke Select Board. We have both candidates in here, Steve Ciciotti and Sean Keegan. We're going to go to break, but just let you know, during the break, we're going to mix it up here a little bit because I'm going to hand each candidate a piece of blank paper and a pen. You have to give back the pen because I'm low on pens.
No promises.
And I want you to write down the question that you would like me to ask your opponent. And we'll go to these, and we'll go to this after the break. We'll be back right after this.
WATD's Political Forum continues. Now, back to Studio B. Here's your moderator, Christine James.
Yes, this is a very exciting forum. They're still writing their questions down that we went to right before break for their opponent. But while they're writing them, I'm not even going to look at them. I'm going to ask you another question, then you can finish these up. Now, Plymouth recently passed a plan to opt out of an exception to the state's gun laws and allow guns in public buildings. Do you think, and then this went back and forth a few times, and they're actually going to not allow that now. But do you think a plan like this is right for Pembroke? Sean?
I don't. I don't see why we need to have guns in public buildings. Listen, I'm all for the Second Amendment. I have my license to carry. I'm 28 years military. I like to go shoot recreationally. I don't see a point in having guns in public buildings. It's just a ticking time bomb that we don't need to deal with. Recreationally, you want to carry them, great. Public buildings, I don't see a need for it.
Okay. What do you think about that, Steve?
I have my license to carry as well. I've had it for a few years now. That said, this is something that seems a little controversial. I don't have any strong feelings on this issue. I'm not going to say that no guns should be allowed in public buildings because we have a Second Amendment right in public spaces. And as long as people are working within the framework of the law that exists, then I don't have an issue with that. Gun owners, law-abiding gun owners tend to actually be more law-abiding than the average citizen who doesn't have a license to carry. So there's some interesting things to think about there. I'm hesitant to put excessive bans in place for something like that, especially with Pembroke, which is such a strong gun-owning culture. But again, this is not a hill that I'm going to die on either side of it.
Okay. Let's go to you. Tom Gorman.
There's a citizens petition in the annual town meeting to discontinue fluoridation of the town water. What is your position about that? On that,
Sean?
So I didn't know a lot about it, but I have talked with one of the candidates running for the health board, and I'm not going to get the numbers exactly right, but for every dollar we put in fluoride, we save, I believe she said $20 to $22 on teeth care, dental care. So as long as it's kept within the limits that are set by the Health and Human Services, I think it's good to be in there.
Okay. Same question, Steve.
So this is something where initially when I first heard it, I was like, oh God, no. I mean, everybody adds fluoride to their water, etc. And this is another issue that is not a hill to die on for me. I think that this is something where the town really should decide this. But I was very surprised to find that the vast majority of towns in our area don't add fluoride to their water. Plymouth doesn't. Brockton doesn't. Almost all the towns in our area don't. I think Duxbury does, and that's pretty much it. So that was surprising to hear. And in terms of the data, I know that there's some claims by the candidate running for Board of Health there, but there's some interesting data on both sides of this, and I've been surprised by the amount of states that are starting to look into banning fluoride in the water. And there's some studies that show some negative effects. It's one thing for teeth care to have fluoride topically applied to your teeth, but to be ingesting it and putting it into your system, I think there's some interesting data to look at. I'm not convinced yet, but it's not without merit. It's something that we should have a discussion about.
Okay. Let's go to Art Egerton, Pembroke Town News. Questions for the candidates.
Thank you, Christine. How do you feel about the transportation options available in the town? Can all residents affordably get where they need to go? And if not, how would you improve the transportation in our city?
Steve, what's the story?
We need more sidewalks, number one. We have been adding more sidewalks, which is good. That's part of our master plan. I was on the master plan collaboration committee, which took a year to develop. I was the vice chair of that. And it's a beautiful document. If you go to pembroke-ma.gov and go to the Discover Pembroke section, you can see the Pembroke master plan. And there's a number of things we identified, and there are a lot of things that we're talking about tonight. But adding more sidewalks is going to be huge to make it more walkable. Bike lanes was actually something where I was convinced for. At first, I was like, bike lanes, why do we want to be adding bike lanes everywhere? It sounds dangerous, etc. I was very much against it. But I was convinced that bike lanes are probably not a bad idea as long as that they're on the side. It's a place for bikers to more safely ride, and they're going to be doing it anyway. So I think we need to make it more bikeable, more walkable. And we do have GATRA. We could leverage GATRA more. We don't leverage GATRA sufficiently, and it is something that we have as a service in our town.
Okay. Same question, Sean.
I agree that it would be great to put bike lanes in, but if you look at the roads in Pembroke, most of them are pretty tight. Putting a bike lane in would be rough. I think we'd have to do a lot of work to make the room for something like that. It would be nice. I would love to see that. The sidewalks, we've got a lot more than we ever did before, and we'd love to keep adding them in the future. GATRA is around the South Shore, and I don't think it gets used enough in Pembroke. You don't see it much in Pembroke. I see it in the surrounding towns a little bit more. So we should leverage that a little bit more.
Okay, now I know people were dying to know what these questions were. You guys are not mean enough. You're not insulting enough.
I was about to say, hey, why don't we say something nice about each other? And he say something nice about me, I'll say something nice about him.
You're both very civil, which is good. Some people can't. This is good. You stick to the issues. Sean would like to know from you, Steve, talk about your view on Pembroke's growth, both residentially and commercially.
So, residentially speaking, the vast majority of the tax burden is on the residents. So they carry most of the tax burden, and we do want to shift that a little bit more to the commercial side, but we desperately need more commercial development. So we need to do more to attract commercial development. We need to make sure that we're not putting barriers up for commercial development to come in. We need to be open to, we need to improve the perspective or the opinion that is out there that Pembroke is a rough place to do business in. I think it used to be the case. It's not anymore. If you come to the select board, you come to the planning board, we're very open to making accommodations in order to bring more commercial development in. But yeah, we do need more commercial development, especially. And when it comes to residential development, there's the 40B situation is really the big pain point, I think, for people, and rightfully so. We do need to bring in some more development. You can't not have development because Prop 2.5 is going to limit your ability to raise funds, and inflation is going to outpace your operations.
Okay.
That wasn't so bad, right?
No.
I didn't give you a hard one.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
And your question from Steve, what will you bring to the select board from a financial and analytical perspective?
So thanks, Steve, for that question. So financially, that's not... I'm not a financial person. I know numbers because in the military, I was in the military for 28 years. I had to run the budget for a battalion doing their signal, which is all the radios and the hardware to stop the IEDs from going off. So I was in charge of $60 million worth of equipment, and I do have to have the numbers and the reporting for the numbers. Civilian side, I don't do that. I'm an IT person, and the numbers aren't where my strength is. My strength is more leadership. I've led all kinds of diverse groups of people, and I know how to bring people together and work to come up with a solution that works for everybody.
Okay. Both of you, how much do you think national politics influences the local dialogue around local politics in Pembroke? Sean?
So that's kind of why I'm running. I think too much. I think there's too much of the culture war stuff going on, and it detracts and takes away from the things that Pembroke really needs to concentrate on. I think we need to get back, refocus and get back to what's going to make Pembroke have a better future. This other stuff is just noise, and it's just dividing us. And I don't think it has any place in smaller town politics.
Okay. Same question, Steve.
So it's a very interesting question, and the answer that Sean gave is very interesting because I was elected to remove identity politics, national politics from the town government, and that's what most people would tell you that I've done. A lot of people are very upset about the national politics that were being brought to our Pembroke town government in 2020 and 2021 under some previous members of the select board. And I would say that I brought a lot of balance, actually, to the select board. Cultural issues, it's not something that the select board is doing, so I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from. National politics is something that we try to avoid. We have a pretty good mix of people on the select board. We deliberate and don't always agree on things. But when we do disagree, we do it deliberately, we do it thoughtfully and productively, and oftentimes even if there's a single vote or minority vote, we move forward. I think that there's, no matter where you go, there's going to be national politics. I think they should be avoided as much as possible. It's unfortunate when I see some of the attacks that people are doing nowadays.
You're really tempting me with this bell here, aren't you?
I just want to push your buttons, your bells.
I actually got some use out of this tonight. Let's go now again to, I believe it was your turn, Tom Gorman.
The town meeting proposal to ban single-use plastic shopping bags. What are your thoughts on that?
Steve?
So this was a citizen's petition, but it was withdrawn, so it shouldn't be up on the, if I recall, it was taken off or withdrawn from the town warrant. It's something that I didn't see anyone really pushing for, so I was surprised to see it come up. I would, if it, let's say hypothetically we did still have it, I would be against removing that single-use plastic bag ban. I think what's in place is fine. I think everybody's used to it, and there's really no need to upset any of that at this time.
If that were still on the thing, still on the warrant, would you go for that, Sean?
My wife and I actually discussed this not too long ago. I would love to see the numbers to know, plastic is bad. I get it, but all the paper bags, you're cutting down more trees. I don't know where the line is, so I don't think it's something that we really need to focus on right now.
There's actually one thing I could add some value to.
30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one big reason, the value add to having. And again, it's not something that I would die on the hill for, but the plastic bags are really bad for the recycling machines. So when you send the plastic bags, you put them in the recycling, and then people think that it's okay, and then they all go into the recycling machines. They bind them up, and then the town gets hit hard on our bills for using recycling, and then we don't get as much money for that.
Do you want another 30 seconds to talk about plastic bags?
Well, I was unaware of that, and if it's costing the town money and it's there's no, then yes, I would say we should get rid of them. But, I haven't seen numbers. I'd like to know more about it. So I'm not dying on the hill either.
Okay. I'm going to ask you later what you're willing to die on the hill for. But we're going to go to a quick break and be back right after this.
Council.
WATD's Political Forum continues. Now, back to Studio B. Here's your moderator, Christine James.
We're back in Studio B. The race is for Pembroke Select Board. The incumbent is here, Steve Ciciotti, and Sean Keegan, the challenger. And we just went to a few questions before our break. Art, I believe it's your turn to ask the candidates a question.
Yes.
Get closer to the mic here so we can hear your question.
If elected to the select board, what is something that you might do to put the town on firmer financial footing? I know everything is pretty tight, but is there one thing you could think of that might help the budget out?
Let's start with you, Sean.
Oh, that's a good question. I think we need to come up with alternative revenue streams. I mean, I know that I believe it's on the warrant to do one-day liquor licenses at the community center, excuse me, which that'll bring in money, bringing the development at the Shepherd's Funeral Home with the tavern there. That'll bring more people into the center. Hopefully, we can find a good use for the firehouse, something that'll bring people into the center and revitalize the center, and hopefully that'll bring more money into the town.
Steve?
Yeah, from a business acumen perspective, you want a two-pronged approach. You definitely want to try more revenue streams for sure. You want to increase your revenue streams. You want to widen your revenue stream as much as possible. So that's one side, to create the upside of it. And then on the bottom side, it's very important. It's crucial that, especially in this environment with this level of inflation, with the disjointed priorities for Chapter 90 funding at the state level, that we have to keep putting our needs before our wants. We can't, the town, I remember when I got involved in the select board, the town was a little bit like this. with its money, we have to pull that back and say, you know what, we've got some crumbling infrastructure needs. We've got some needs with like crumbling playgrounds, obviously our roads, our town-owned historical buildings and things like that. We need to funnel the money that we have available for these kinds of things towards our needs before our wants. That's not to say we should never put money towards our wants, but let's take care of our needs first, and then we can look at our wants. Beyond that, we need to put guardrails around productive development as well, and that'll allow us to bring in some more tax revenues. It's the lifeblood of Prop 2.5 towns.
You have a follow-up to that, Art? Do you have any other question you want to ask with that?
No.
Okay. What about flags? This can be one of the most emotional issues in so many towns we cover. Do you think there should be a policy at town buildings, schools? What types of flags should be allowed or not allowed? Steve?
This is a difficult issue because you can't just say, I want to allow these but not those. It's something where really you've got to allow all of them or allow none of them. And there was a ruling against the city of Boston where they tried to be arbitrary about it, and the Supreme Court shot it down and said you can't do that. You got to allow all of them or you got to allow none of them. And that's kind of my view on it. When it comes to the platform of the taxpayer, when it comes to public spaces, whether you're talking about your schools, your public buildings, etc., we cannot be platforming our personal politics. The taxpayer funds cannot be used to platform the left or the right, whether you're a libertarian, Democrat, or Republican, whether you want to put up a Blue Lives Matter flag or even a pride flag. These are all political symbols, and you're politicizing these public spaces. And schools are a place where we should teach kids how to think, not what to think. And this has been a little bit of a struggle in our schools. We have a small group of patterned individuals that engage in a little bit too much politics, and I would like to see that end.
No, what flags do you think do you think there should be the U.S. flag and the state flag or town flag?
If you were to make it very simple, the simplest way to go about it is the flags that, whether we like it or not, we are all a part of. That's part of all of our identity. That's the U.S. national flag. That's the state flag, the town flag. You're talking about Pembroke Titans, for example. So you can really simplify things with that. Now, the devil's always in the details, of course. And it was just part of the problem with last year's proposal is the spirit was something that was trying to come up with something productive, but the execution needed more work, and that's why it was a draft. And something like that would need a lot of work before you get to the point where you say, okay, we're ready to go. And both sides need to come together on this and say, how do we put something together that makes sense and is sustainable, that keeps politics out of these spaces?
Okay. Now, he just got 2 minutes on that because it was a two-part question. So if you want 2 minutes, Sean, you can have 2 minutes to talk about what you think about a flag policy, if there should be one or not be one, and what flags do you feel should be flown at buildings in Pembroke, public buildings.
I'm a military man. I don't use a lot of words. I'll probably be good. But so officially on the flag poles that are out front, the American flag, the state flag, Pembroke flag. But I don't think any flag should be banned from the facilities. Somebody wants to wear a shirt with a pride flag. Somebody wants to hang a pride flag. I don't have a problem with that. But I do feel that the flags on the official poles that are out front, those are the three that should be there.
Okay.
Something should be clarified real quick.
30 seconds.
Absolutely. I'm not suggesting that, what people wear should be banned at all. I mean, what's on your person, you have the right to put on your person whatever you want, clothes, on your backpack, etc., so on and so forth. My issue is with platforming political flags on public spaces, such as on the walls or on the flag poles, etc. But as an individual, we're not talking about banning.
No, we're just talking
flags.
About public buildings. We're not talking about any of the other
stuff. And I just
stuff.
wanted to clarify because it almost sounded like it was kind of, but that's not something that I
wasn't
support.
my intent.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
All right. I'm glad we settled that issue. Now let's go to you, Tom Gorman.
How can the Select Board improve public engagement with the residents?
Steve, engage.
This is one thing I'm probably rather infamous for, is I engage very heavily with the public over social media. A lot of people have probably seen me in the various forums, whether it's an issue that is friendly to the Select Board or seemingly unfriendly to the Select Board or to the town. Regardless of what the issue is, I will go and engage with people. I'll go right into the lion's den, and I will talk with folks and try to help inform them as best I can, not just directly as a Select Board member into the the various groups and forums across whatever the kind of leanings of the political leanings that they are. But on my select board page itself, I'm very active. I post a lot of information. I communicate with the town very effectively through there, and I worked with PAC TV and the local scene to help encourage them to move all of their videos for meetings, recorded meetings, to YouTube to make it much easier access for the town as well. So people have much better access now. I always want to improve communication and hope people reach out to me, and I'm going to continue reaching out to them.
Sean?
Yeah, I think it's vital to have better communication. People I've spoken with aren't aware of a lot of the things that are going on, and that's not the select board or the town's fault wholly, but we need to do a better job of getting the information out. I would love to put together an email blast that people can sign up for. I did an interview with PAC TV, and I did talk to them about doing a weekly or monthly address to go over what's going on, so people are more aware of what the town is doing, because that seems to be the problem. People are like, this isn't getting done. You're like, well, no, it is getting done. You just weren't paying attention, or I don't want to say it that way, that you just didn't know about it. And we just need to get it out to people.
30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something where it's unfortunate because everyone gets bombarded with national politics all the time, right? Like, whether you like it or not, you are forced to form an opinion about national politics because the news chases after you, and you can't avoid it. At the town level, unfortunately, the news doesn't chase after you. It doesn't seek you out like it does at the national level. You have to seek it out. And it's very difficult for people to think about how to do that. And so people are left wondering what's really going on, and that's why less people turn out to vote in town elections, because they feel less informed. That's why I originally was not as engaged. So this is something that that is an issue, but I think as individuals we can kind of do that as on the select board.
30 seconds if you wanted to add to that, too.
Sure. I know you mentioned news, and I think that's just one of the terms you were using. But if the news is not what I'm looking for, because news tends to be slanted one way or the other. I just want to inform of what's going on. Simple. Get the stuff out there so they know what's on the warrants going into the town meeting, so they know when the town meetings are, so that they can discuss things and ask questions. Those are the type of things that I'm trying to do. And I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I took it as news the way we see it.
Okay. Let's go to the lightning round now. This exactly. This is where the answers are either yes or no, or one or two sentences tops. Art, did you have any lightning round questions for our candidates?
Yes, I do. What is your favorite place to spend time in the town?
Oh, sorry, that was not a candidate. That was a light. Don't worry about that. So, Sean, what's your favorite place to spend time in your favorite spot in Pembroke?
A hockey rink.
Okay. Steve, favorite place in Pembroke?
Herring Run. Love Herring Run. It was like that in 2022. My answer was Herring Run, and it's still Herring Run.
See what I mean? People cannot be brief. What social media sites do you frequent? Steve, 2 sentences.
I hate to say Facebook.
That's it?
Facebook, social media sites, Facebook, and Reddit.
Okay. Social media sites.
Yeah,
Sean.
I'm not on them much. I do Facebook and Twitter.
Okay. Any
or X, I guess.
Okay.
Now, right?
What's the last book you read?
It was it was a book on leadership styles in the military.
Okay. And what's the last book you read, Steve?
Marcus Aurelius' Meditations.
Okay. Was that in college? I'm just kidding. I'm being a wise guy.
I'm a total nerd.
Okay.
I get all the nerdiest stuff.
Would you say you've watched less than 10 minutes of or more than 10 minutes of the first Karen Reed trial? Less than 10 minutes of or more than 10 minutes of? Steve?
Less than 1 minute of.
Okay. Sean, same question.
Yeah, is 0 less than 10?
Yeah.
Less than 10.
Okay. And then in the last 10 years, name the 2 most effective town officials in Pembroke.
So currently, Bill Chenard, I think he does an amazing job. He's
2 officials.
Oh,
Lightning.
Sorry.
Quick like a bunny.
Bill Chenard and our police chief.
Okay. Same question, Steve.
I would say Bill Chenard and our new water superintendent with what he's tackling.
Okay, there we go. See, that wasn't so bad. Now we're going to go to closing statements, and we're going to reverse the order because when we started, I have to write this down because I can never remember who went first. Sean went first,
right.
So now we're going to reverse it, and now we're going to begin closing statements. 1 minute. Going to be start with Steve Ciciotti, then go to Sean Keegan. Steve.
Real quick, before we start, did you say 2 minutes?
1 minute.
1
for
minute.
Closing.
I was told it was 2 minutes, so I've got a 2-minute statement.
1 minute.
Talk fast.
All right, let's go. Ready? Let's do it. I believe very strongly in transparency and open communication with your elected officials. Pay close attention, whereas some run for election appear to be less open about their views and seem to work hard on avoiding specifics. I'm very comfortable publicly with my values and my positions. So while I do have my Selectman page on Facebook, don't hesitate to visit even my personal page if you want to dig a bit deeper beyond the rounded out public personas. Feel free to search either of my pages or keywords or issues on your mind. I'm an open book, and I want to make it easy for you to know exactly who I am and what I stand for as your Selectman. And in speaking to so many in town, from Democrats who feel the party has left them, independents whose views defy easy categorization, and those who hold out Republicans striving to be heard masters, I've shown that I can listen and consider all points of view, including changing my mind when confronted by those approaching in good faith and armed with sound arguments, solid data. Over the years, we've made great strides, some big, some small, some more or less disruptive, all aimed at governing more effectively, managing our financial resources prudently and tackling challenges head-on instead of continuing to kick the can down the road. We've built some momentum, so it's crucial that we keep moving forward. And thinking about where we were in 2020, 2021 versus where we are now, I've helped return what some might call balance to the Board of Selectmen and help refocus our priorities. So now I'm going to skip to the end. Let's leverage the momentum we've built. If you agree and like what you've heard and are starting to see, then be sure to talk to your friends, talk to your family, and vote to re-elect Steve Ciciotti.
There you go. That was quick. Steve Ciciotti. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm like the Micro Machines guy if I need to be.
Exactly. Sean Keegan, now your closing statement for our listeners.
I'm just an average resident. I'm not the incumbent, so to paraphrase the musical Hamilton, I haven't been in the room where it happens. So I don't have all the answers, and I won't pretend to. What I do have is real experience. After 28 years in the military, I have experience leading teams of men and women, large and small, through peace and through war. And over nearly 3 decades, I've learned one simple but powerful truth about leadership. There are only 2 things you need to do to be a successful leader. Take care of your people and listen to the subject matter experts. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to be a good leader. You just need the humility to listen and ask good questions and the courage to make the best decision for those you serve. That's how I led in the military, and that's how I will lead for Pembroke. Thank you for your time, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you very much. You've been listening to a WATD Political Forum, of course, with our media partner here, Pembroke Town News. The candidates are for Pembroke Select Board, Steve Ciciotti, the incumbent, Sean Keegan, the challenger. Tom Gorman from ATD asking questions with me, along with Art Egerton and Charlie Fulmer, timing our own Larry Nelson Engineering. Stay tuned to WATD for complete election results. Pembroke Town election is on May 17th. And as we say at every forum, get out and vote. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice. I'm Christine James, 95.9 WATD.